Finals by Katie Hay. Goraf found Navanayo in the first place he looked, the library. Their last exam was that morning. Of course, Navanayo was cramming every last piece of knowledge into his head. The library was quiet, hushed. Libraries were supposed to be quiet, but normally, during daylight hours, there was a hum as people moved around, slotted books in and out of shelves, flipped pages, and discussed what they found with friends. Now, with dawn around the corner, it was dim, floating lanterns making pools of light around the exits. The table Navanayo had picked also held a lamp, its glow dim but valiant. The light gleamed on Navanayo's dark hair. Goraf couldn't see his friend's face, because he was face down in the books spread across the desk in front of him. A gentle snore broke the silence. Goraf's heart twisted. He stood at his friend's side looking down at the strands of overlong hair that shielded the side of his face. Navanayo's mother hated his hair. "It's so unruly, darling. Quite a mess. I know you can do better." She'd spoken the words lightly, as though she were teasing. Goraf had met the family enough times to know it wasn't a joke. Her light tone was belied by the hard gleam in her eyes. She was used to being obeyed without question, especially by her son. Navanayo had kept his hair long. It was a rebellion. Goraf thought it was a good start, although his friend seemed to be struggling with finding a next step to shake off the expectations lying heavy on his slender shoulders. He reached out a hand slowly. 3 hours until they needed to be in the exam hall. It would be a kindness to let him sleep, but Goraf knew he'd only panic when he woke. This way there was time for Goraf to calm him down before they had to sit the final exam that would shape their futures. He wanted to stroke down Navanayo's hair, but settled for setting his hand lightly on his friend's shoulder instead. Navanayo shifted, snores interrupted by a huff that might have been enquiry. "Ayo, can you wake up for me?" Goraf spoke softly as he hooked a chair with his ankle, tugging it beside his friend and sitting down, but leaving his hand where it was, allowing a little more weight to fall through his fingers. Another grunt. Ayo's head turned, hair brushing against the pages, loud in the hush of the book-filled room. He was fighting consciousness, and Goraf could hardly blame him. He felt the moment Navanayo woke properly. The shoulder beneath his hand tensed. Ayo shot upright. "What time is it?" He looked at Goraf, then back to his books. "Shit! I have so much left to study." His face held a distinct crease down one cheek, where the pages had left an impression. He looked adorable. Goraf's heart ached. "I think you need breakfast more than books right now," he said softly. "I thought we could go get a coffee." Ayo's eyes widened. "I can't stop for coffee. How long have I been asleep?" His whole body screamed dismay as he looked at the books, clearly unsure where to start. "Ayo," Goraf tightened his grip on his friend's shoulder. "You've been revising for 12 hours a day for a month solid. If you don't know it now, you don't know it." Ayo swallowed and Goraf's heart ached harder. "I have to pass." "You will pass." Goraf was confident of that. Ayo wasn't stupid, he simply wasn't brilliant, which was only a problem when you had a family like Ayo's. Ayo stopped his frantic movements, staring unseeing at the books. His fingers played restlessly with the corner of one of the textbooks, pages thrumming over and over. "You don't understand," he said woodenly. "I can't understand," Goraf agreed, "but I know you." He paused, then decided he was going to say it after all. "If you're not good enough as you are, then there's a problem with your family and their expectations, because there isn't a problem with you." Ayo huffed and continued to stare. His voice was low. "I should have been born a hedge witch, and you the heir to House Navan." "Oh, you want me to be miserable?" Goraf tried a joke, rewarded by the twist of a corner of Ayo's mouth. "They'd love you," Ayo said, his tone twisting to bitterness. Goraf was silent. He wanted to rebut that. He wanted to say that the family loved Ayo, but he couldn't lie, not to his best friend. "You'll pass," he said at length, "and the House of Navan will have to accept something it can't change. It's old and powerful enough to weather the small disappointment of a Navan heir who doesn't put everyone else to shame." Another huff. Goraf had said this before, but it could stand repeating. Maybe Ayo would hear him this time. "If they only love you because you burnished the House Navan, then they don't love you much at all." Navan's fingers stilled. "They'd love me if you were me." He frowned. I'm not making sense. I love you. Silence fell. Goraf swallowed. Maybe that was too much, especially today. The whole world is full of people who'll love you when they get to know you. We should change places, Ayo muttered. Goraf snorted. I think your mother might notice. No. Ayo glanced around, then focused back on the books. His voice was so low Goraf struggled to hear. For the exam, you give my name and I'll give yours. Goraf glanced around, glad it was so late, early, that no one was around. That's not your best idea, Ayo. He tried to keep his voice light, treat the suggestion as a joke, even though he knew it was nothing of the sort. It's all I've got, Ayo replied. I'm not going to put my whole future at risk, he said steadily. My family would protect you, Ayo said, which only went to prove how frantic he must be, because he knew better than that. Your family would protect themselves, then you. I'd be an afterthought at best. But I didn't mean what would happen if we were found out. I meant that these results are my chance to make something of myself, to be more than a no-name hedge witch. Ayo's gaze snapped to him, a frown plucking at his brows. You're not a no-name hedge witch. I really am. All I have is my magic, and this is the best way for me to prove it and change my future. Ayo nodded. I'm sorry, I wasn't thinking. I'm a shitty friend. Goraf placed his hand over Ayo's restless one. You're not a shitty friend. You're under a lot of pressure. I can't really imagine how that feels. He forced a smile. There are advantages to being a no-name hedge witch, it seems. Ayo breathed out and closed his eyes. I can just imagine my mother. She'll be so nice about it that I'll be under no delusion how very disappointed she is. Goraf paused, then spoke, because apparently this was heart-to-heart time, an oasis of truth carved out in the darkness. You're very worried that you might disappoint your family. Do you think they waste even a moment worrying about how they disappoint you? That's different. Which it was, and Goraf wished with all his heart it wasn't. If I ever have children, a circumstance vanishingly unlikely, but the point was still worth making, then I'll love them for who they are, not as a peg in a board that has to fit or be discarded. I hope I'll do the same, Ayo whispered. That was a circumstance not vanishingly unlikely. As heir, Navanayo would be expected to produce the next heir, so the glory of House Navan could continue on and on, chewing up its sons and daughters as it went. Do you never want to run away and live on a desert island? Goraf asked. Ayo chuckled. Only daily. He pulled away, scrubbing at his eyes and pushing his hair off his face. You're right, breakfast. Several cups of coffee. And then the axe can fall as it will. He stood, flipping the books closed. Goraf stood too. I got you something. Well, made you something, actually. Ayo turned, sending the books back to their places with a spell as he raised his brows expectantly. That was the hardest thing. Ayo had magic, strong magic. It just wasn't the sort of magic House Navan wanted. Their loss, but they made Ayo feel as though he were flawed. Goraf would never forgive them for it. He dug in a pocket and pulled out the woven bracelet he'd finished earlier that evening. He hadn't been sure about giving it to Ayo. He wanted to, he'd made it for his friend. But he wanted it to be unnecessary. He held it out, stretched across his palm. It will help you relax, so you can access your magic during the exam. You might not do as well as your family want, but you'll do yourself justice at least. Ayo inhaled sharply. I won't be allowed to wear it. No magical aids, remember? Goraf smiled. It's undetectable. I might be a no-name hedge witch, but my magic is quite something. His face said he was still debating the matter, but Ayo's hand came out as though his body had already decided. Goraf fastened the slim bracelet around his wrist, beside the broad silver bangle that denoted his heritage. He completed the knot, and the thread slipped under the bangle, as though they wanted to be hidden, a secret the two would share. Ayo's fingers curled around his wrist. He met Goraf's gaze. I don't know what I'd do without you. Goraf lifted a shoulder. You'd manage. Barely. Your friendship, it's kept me sane these 3 years. I'm glad I could help. I want you to work with me, after this. Ayo blurted the suggestion. House Navan wants the best and brightest. If I can't be that, then at least I can recruit it. Goraf didn't answer. He'd been half hoping, half dreading an offer like this, because what was he supposed to say? I'd walk beside you through the gates of hell itself, but the halls of House Navan might be a step too far. He wanted to stay close to Ao, of course he did, and House Navan could offer him opportunities that would never open to him otherwise. He possessed exactly the sort of power House Navan wanted to hoard, but he didn't want to be hoarded. We could change the house, couldn't we? Your power and my influence. We could do better, Ao said, as though trying to convince himself. We could make the house do better. Goraf wondered if Ao was aware he was echoing his mother's phrase, even if he meant it in a completely different way. We might be able to change it, he agreed, then looked straight into Ao's eyes. But I'm afraid it would change us first. Ao smiled, although Goraf saw the tremble of his lips and the slump of his shoulders. That's a no, then. Goraf linked their arms and set them both walking towards the library exit. That's let's wait until today is over before we make any big decisions. Outside, dawn was breaking. The sky was a fire of crimsons and yellows. Ao paused, taking a deep breath as he turned to the rising sun. His face was bathed in orange. Goraf thought he'd never looked more handsome. Let's do it, he blurted the words before he could stop them. Ao turned, surprised for only a moment before he followed the thread of Goraf's thoughts. You'll join me? We'll change the house together? I'll join you, and we'll change the world. Ao grinned, brighter than the sun itself. Goraf returned the gesture, hiding the shard of fear in his heart that said he was promising things not in his gift. They'd do it. They'd change House Navan or they'd die trying. As the moment hung, bright and suspended in time, he knew it was the truth, and worth any sacrifice he'd need to make. That was Finals by Katie Hay. Please hit like and subscribe if you want to be notified when the next video is posted up. Thanks for listening.